What's up, guys? It is Sunday, so we're back on the CD collection. I think we're on part 79. I think, yeah, we're pushing in on 80 videos, which is ridiculous. Still in the I section, so going to pick up where we left off last week with In Flames. I actually got them out of order. I try to keep them in chronological order the best I can. I left this EP out when I showed the Just a Race. This came out before the Just a Race. This is the Subterranean EP from In Flames. Really strong EP. Some of their best material on here. This is the reissue through Candlelight. It has the bonus tracks. They have like a Metallica kind of tribute, kind of paying homage song on here. I believe there's something for Iron Maiden on this as well. I haven't listened to this in quite some time, but it is a solid EP from In Flames. Next up, we have the Horacle album. This is the deluxe edition. I don't like that. I wish they would have just left the artwork alone. It does have the original artwork, but they kind of shrunk it down on that. Has some enhanced video clips and stuff on this as well. Something that is not quite these days, it's not something that's just a selling point. Back then it was kind of cutting edge when this came out, but it kind of shows its age now. This album was originally released in 97. This is the 2002 reissue. Episode 666 is probably my favorite track on here. I know that's kind of cheesy or cliche to say, but I mean, that's a classic song, classic stuff from In Flames there. It's one of those must-own albums. Then I have Colony, the follow-up to Horacle. Love this one. Ordinary Story, track number 2. Everyone knows that one. Some more of this. I mean, there's just some In Flames albums that I feel are essential in collections, and all the way up through the next In Flames that I'm going to show is what I would consider essential owns for someone that's into Melodeath. Then we have Clayman. This was the last awesome album from In Flames. This was probably I wore this album out when it came out. I listened to it over and over and over. At the time, it was my favorite In Flames. Arguably now, I mean, I can look back at some of those earlier albums. I can appreciate a little bit more. But when Clayman came out, I was head over heels in love with this album. I still love this album to this day. This is probably the 4th jewel case that this album has been put in, just because I listened to them and wore them out. I'm surprised the CD still works at this point. Next up, I have the Tokyo Showdown. This is a live album from In Flames. I'm not usually the biggest person on live releases, but this is a really good one. And I saw In Flames shortly after this came out, and some of the stuff was really similar from when I saw them live. But when I saw them live, it was also that time, the first time that I saw them live, it was a bit of a letdown. But we'll get into that in just a moment. But as far as like live albums go, this is probably one of my favorites. It's just fantastic stuff. So I do not own Reroute to Remain. That's going to be a glaring hole in the In Flames discography. I saw them live right before that album came out. They were opening for Slayer, and I was super let down by the performance of In Flames. In Flames was one of those bands that I had loved from the get-go, and Reroute to Remain was kind of the turning point for the band, and it was glaringly obvious in their live show. So that one just I have a sour spot for that album. I will probably never own it. As I said, as far as like essential In Flames material goes, Clayman is kind of where the cutoff is for me, but I do own a lot of their later releases, as you will see. I did pick up Soundtrack to Your Escape. This is the slip case version that has the, if I don't drop it everywhere, has the bonus DVD up there. Then you slide it out of the slipcase, and it has the actual album artwork. I didn't hate this album. I liked it better than Reroute to Remain, just because of I don't know. Just I think that that live performance that I saw then just kind of soured me on that album. But I will quit whining about it now. But definitely a different sound going on these albums than the earlier stuff. They've kind of morphed into that melodic death metal sound, and this is where the alternative metal is really coming in. Even it almost feels like metalcore at times, and these days, like the brand new stuff I wouldn't even consider a lot of that metal anymore. We have Come Clarity. I actually really like this one. I saw them live in support of this album, and that experience was much better than the first time that I saw In Flames, so I was thankful for that. I think I've seen them, I think 3 times now, but I do remember seeing them in support of the Come Clarity album, and I enjoyed them a lot more in that instance than I did when they opened for Slayer. Then I have a Sense of Purpose. I like this one more than a lot of people did. This one is a bit of a guilty pleasure album for me. I guess at this point, a lot of their latter releases almost can be considered guilty pleasure releases. But I have a few guilty pleasure bands in this particular portion of the CD collection. It's a glaringly different type of video than the last video, where we had all of the just evil death metal and grimy death metal. This portion of the CD shelf is just like glaringly opposite from the last portion. And then we have Sounds of a Playground Fading. I wasn't real big on this one. I still have it. I revisit it every once in a while, but there's just something about this one. I don't know. It just felt kind of off to me. But then again, coming up, that's kind of the theme going forward. I don't know why I keep picking their stuff up, because it's like a constant. I'm always a bit disappointed. We have Siren Charms. This one looks like it's still almost just brand new, even though it's in this digibook. I've probably played this album maybe 3 times since I've owned it. Yeah. Then I have Battles, and same thing there. I tried so hard to like this album. I really did. It's just not. It's not something that I've found myself ever coming back to and wanting to listen to again, though, unfortunately. And then I got this one super cheap. At that point, I was just kind of like, well, I'm not going out of my way to pick up In Flames material anymore. If I happen to catch it at a next to nothing price, I think I got this for like $4. And now I know why. This is In Flames with Eye the Mask. It's just more of that. I mean, at this point, I don't even consider them a metal band. They're just kind of a shell of what they used to be. And that is very unfortunate. I've heard some pretty okay things about the newest album that's come out this year, but that's just one of those things. I'm not going to seek it out by any means. If it just happens to come across my radar at a very discounted price, I'll probably pick it up, but it's not something that I just feel like I have to go out and get. Okay, that's it for the In Flames. We'll move on. I didn't want to spend a ton of time on that because, honestly, after Clayman, I feel like the rest of the In Flames stuff is give or take. So, next up, we have a band out of Finland. This is a kind of operatic, symphonic, gothic black metal project, female fronted. This is In Silentio Noctis with Disenchant the Hypocrites. I actually like this. I ordered this from Redstream many years ago. This came out in 2013, so it's been out for a bit. I guess 10 years is a bit. It's been out for a decade. But I do like this. It was kind of met with mixed reviews when it came out, but I do enjoy this quite a bit. I think they have one full length. This is just the EP. I know for sure they have one full length, but I don't own that one. But this pretty solid, just a slab of. That's the best way I know to put it, is just like operatic, symphonic, black and goth metal. Next up, we have some. Man, my voice is trying to go. Sorry. Next up, we have some Merciful Fate Worship. This is a band out of Sweden. Unfortunately, this band is no longer together, but this is In Solitude with their self-titled debut. This is the reissue from Season of Mist. Pretty good. I do like this band quite a bit. And it's a shame because they disbanded and they're no longer together. They put out 3 full lengths, but all 3 full lengths were absolutely stellar. And I really wish that they had kind of stuck it out. And I mean, you never know what's going on behind the scenes, but it's a band that I really did start to get into. And then about the time that I really started getting into them, they disbanded. Next up, I have their sophomore release. This was my introduction into In Solitude. This is the World, the Flesh, the Devil. I remember I went through a period where like I was into the Decibel bands, like anything that Decibel was showing, I had to seek out and try to listen to, and this was one of those albums that they were really high on. Looking back now, some of that stuff felt like it was just maybe what labels or whatever they were kind of Decibel kind of whores themselves out to whoever pays the most for the advertising and all that stuff. But at the time, I was kind of ignorant to all that, and this was a shining spot during that period. It is one of those albums that I found and I still love to this day. The third album, Sister, from In Solitude, I thought I owned it, and I looked everywhere before this video. I don't remember trading it, VCLTing it, or selling it, but it is nowhere to be found in the collection, so at some point I do need to pick up their third full length. Definite shame that these guys are no longer together, though. Next up, we have some Black and Doom. It's kind of ambient Black and Doom. I forget where this band is out of. I picked this up from Paragon Records in one of the bigger orders that I did from Paragon. This is In Tenebris with Winter Night Poetry. This is a one-person project. Pretty good. It's 7 tracks, and with something being Black and Doom, especially ambient Black and Doom, you would expect the tracks to kind of drag on and go on, but they really don't. With it being 7 tracks, it's probably less than 40 minutes of runtime if memory serves me correct. I do like this though. I just like the atmospheres that he's able to create on this, and pretty good stuff. I know that there's quite a few releases under this In Tenebris or In Tenebris moniker, but this is the only one that I own. At some point I will probably seek out some more of that material because I did find this quite enjoyable. Next up, we have In the Burial with Born of Suffering. I got this in a grab bag, and honestly, when I saw that, I thought I was going to hate it. Just from the looks at it, it looked like some kind of cheesy deathcore, MySpace era deathcore or something that this was going to be, and it absolutely was not. This is kind of blackened, technical blackened death metal is the best way that I can describe this. I forget where this band is out of. I think they're out of here in the States, but I could be wrong on that one. This was released on PRC Music back in 2013. This is the debut full length from this band. They did change singers. I think they went from the singer that is on this. There's a female singer in the band now, if they're still together. This is the only album that I own from them, but I believe that there's been a bit of a change up in the lineup since that release. Next up, this album is horrible. This is In the Eyes Of with Jezebel. This is a metalcore release. Kind of, yeah. I think it was self-release from the band. I would sell this or something, but I think like copies are selling for like $1, so it's not even worth my time of selling it. It just kind of sits on the shelf now. At some point, maybe some unlucky sap will get this in a VCLT or something. It has some water damage though on the back, so it makes it pretty much. I don't know. But at some point, if I'm ever in a dire straits for a jewel case, that's going to be one of the first ones to get robbed of the jewel case. Moving on. Next up, as I said, there's a lot of guilty pleasures in this particular portion of the CD shelf. We have In This Moment with Circles. I actually saw In This Moment live when this album had just come out, they were playing. They actually did a little show in right outside of St. Louis in a place called Sauget, Illinois. They did a show with Wednesday 13, and I actually met Maria at that show. I have a picture with her somewhere back before they really anybody really knew who In This Moment was. So that was kind of cool to for nostalgia's sake to have this. I actually do like this album, believe it or not. This is Beautiful Tragedy. I didn't say the name of the album. But as far as In This Moment releases go, this is probably my favorite release. I'm sure that there's nostalgia. I probably look back on it fonder than it should be, just because of the memories tied up in this. But I do actually like that album. I have two more of their releases, believe it or not. I have a Star-Crossed Wasteland. I believe it was either this album or the next one where they kind of just ditched the entire band except for Maria Brink and the one of the other guys in the band, and they pretty much just, at that point, just focused everything around her, because they knew that was going to be how they made the money. And this album, I felt like, was a definite step down from Beautiful Tragedy, especially musically. And then I have Blood, and this is just kind of where I just gave up on the band. I won't say gave up. I got to the point where it just wasn't piquing my interest enough to keep following them. I'd rather spend my money on things that I'm actually going to listen to and enjoy. As you can see, this one still almost looks brand new. It just kind of sits on the shelf. Next up, we have some groove metal. I guess this is kind of groove metal and more metalcore. This is a band out of Italy. I think I got this in a grab bag. This is In All Senses with Hysterical Psychosis. This is probably not something that I would have picked up on my own. That's why I say that it was in a grab bag. It's not horrible, but it's not super memorable either. I mean, it's just kind of there. At some point, I'll probably pull this back off and revisit it. Even looking at the artwork and the layout of this, it's just not something that you see and you're just going to want to jump to and grab it. It almost has like a new metal look just looking at the artwork. So it's definitely kind of does the album a disservice on that front. But I remember it not being horrible. At some point I will revisit this, because believe it or not, despite my CD collection being so huge, I do try to go back and revisit stuff and listen to my albums. I don't like just having stuff on my shelves just to be on the shelves. I do like to enjoy and listen to what I have up there. Next up, we had to have some brutal death metal. I'm surprised it's made it this long without any being in the video. This is a band out of Colombia. I believe this one came in that big Severed Records grab bag. This is Inbreeding Sick with I think this is their latest full length. I say latest, I think it came out in 2016. This is Sickness and Plagues. A pretty solid slab of brutal death metal. I mean, if you're into brutal death metal, that kind of chunky, kind of, I mean, I know that doesn't really, doesn't, narrow it down with a lot of brutal death metal, but I mean, I do like this one, so I give it the classy metal seal of approval as far as brutal death metal goes. But there you go. There's Inbreeding Sick. You guys knew I had to have at least one brutal death metal album in this portion. Next up, this one's kind of an embarrassing spot, especially since I just showed all those In Flames albums and some In This Moment, and I'm severely lacking on this band, which is unfortunate. And I've tried to pick their albums up when I catch them at a decent price, but apparently everyone else is picking these albums up too and snatching them up if they're ever on sale or cheap. I did pick up a couple of their releases recently in that Hell's Headbangers order that I did, but we'll just get into it. I know I sold some of the original, early presses of the stuff back when my wife was having surgeries, and I just haven't been able to. I just haven't. I guess I could have picked up reissues or what have you, but I just haven't replaced them yet. But that's enough rambling. This is Incantation. I do have Tribute to the Goat. This is a bootleg. This is kind of hard to come by now. It's a live album. but it's a really well done live album, especially for the time period that this was released in, because 90s death metal, you wouldn't expect live albums to be just like the sound quality to be that great, but I think this one does a pretty good job of what it's there for. So I do like that. And with it being a bootleg, and it is actually a really well done bootleg. So the those Russian bootlegs, man, it's getting harder and harder to tell them apart from the originals. Next up, we have Incantation with the Infernal Storm. Solid album. As you can see, there's some glaring holes in my Incantation collection. It's a bit embarrassing because it's a phenomenal band, influential band, and I definitely am lacking on their material. So I do need to rectify that, but it gets expensive. And then the next two are the ones that I picked up recently from the Hell's Headbangers order. We have Decimate Christendom. This is, I believe, the first album that John was doing vocals on, so it's kind of one of those essential Incantation albums just because of the history of the band. And then I picked this one up from Hell's Headbangers as well. This is Primordial Domination. I actually been listening to this one quite a bit as of late. This one's grown on me. I thought it was just kind of run-of-the-mill Incantation when I got it. That kind of seemed to be the theme of the reviews on it. But something about this one, I don't know, like just as of late, it's just been calling out to me, and I've returned to this one quite a bit. Just that I just love this doomy kind of style of death metal, and Incantation just does it so well. And then last but not least, this one's still in the little digi protector. Usually I take them out of that. I don't know why I left it in there today. We have the Dirges of Elysium. I haven't spent a ton of time with this one, and I don't know why. Maybe because it's in that plastic wrap, and maybe I'm just lazy when I go to pull off some Incantation from the shelf. But it's a solid album, and I don't know why I haven't listened to it as much as I should have. I got this on eBay. I got it actually fairly cheap. I caught a steal on this, and when I bought it, I probably ordered a bunch of albums around the same time period, and unfortunately this one just kind of got pushed to the back. I may actually leave this one to the side after this video and give it a spin today, but that's all I've got for this video. I do have a couple more Incantation releases that will kick off the next video next week. They're just on the next section of the shelf, and that's all I've got for today. So I know this one didn't hit quite as heavy as the one last week. The one last week was a really solid portion of the shelf, but maybe we'll pick that up and improve on that next week. Hope you guys have a good week. Stay classy, stay metal, and I will see you guys soon.